Hey everybody, this is Tim Charron, and welcome to my brand new podcast called The Charron Zone, blah, 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 blah. All right, welcome to The Charron Zone. I am here with Pamela Parker. How you doing, Pamela?
What's up? I'm good. How are you?
Good. So you are in San Francisco, right?
That's right.
Awesome. And you're a singer, songwriter, producer. You wear many hats.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you just... Exactly. I like that. Why don't you just let everyone listening and watching know what it is you're doing and where you are on your musical journey so far?
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Well, I'm Pamela Parker. I'm coming at you from San Francisco, California. I've been working at a legendary studio called Hyde Street Studios for about 12 years. I'm a producer and an audio engineer. I'm one of their staff engineers also. And basically, I've been recording a lot of records for that time while fronting my own rock band. And as well as I have a couple degrees in music. So before I worked there, I also worked at some other studios when I was in college, learning about studio stuff. In college, I learned about opera and jazz and classical, doing singing and guitar and piano, and then working in a studio for my bachelor's degree. Which was a really great program at Shenandoah in Virginia, actually. I'm from the East Coast originally. So I came out here to live the dream, and I feel like I'm doing that.
That's good to hear. That's very good to hear. So tell us about you as an artist, solo artist, and your band, and you're a killer guitar player, all this stuff. So just to brag about yourself. Like, what if people haven't heard you before? What would they expect if they came to a show? Like, what kind of music? What's the vibe?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you could definitely expect to see some rock and roll.
Yes.
And, I was kind of working on a tagline like we were talking about. I haven't really finalized it yet, but, part of it kind of is definitely like red hot, rock with funk, like purple funk, Mm-hmm. And, we have a couple different vibes. Like we have the rock vibe. I play guitar solos, stand on the monitor. It's really fun. Sometimes me and I have another guitar player in the band too. So we do guitarmonies, like duet lead guitar playing. We have lots of vocals. I have some background vocalists as well as some of the other guys in the band sing too. We've got drums, bass, 2 guitars, keys, background vocals, and horns. So sometimes we play as a 5-piece with no background vocals and horns, but we've got all the other instruments singing, so we still have background vocals, just not the ladies. And the band definitely transforms when you add the background vocals and the horn section, and that's really my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And we call that the Fantastic Machine, which is a representation of our album that came out called The Fantastic Machine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
And, I feel like part of what I believe in is us as people changing the world. And I like to say and think that I'm changing the world through music and through my songs, either helping people understand other people or helping people understand themselves, or even just hearing something and having a good time and not even, not everybody needs help, but having fun songs that you could just dance to but that are deep too. So if you really want to think about them, you can, if you don't, you don't have to, I guess.
That's interesting because I was just having this conversation today or yesterday that, I really feel like my job is to let people come to a show and escape into the music and for an hour or 2 hours or whatever it is and have fun. And a lot of the simplest themes in music, like just the theme of letting loose, partying, having a good time, are so timeless, and they're very simple. But that's for me personally, with my concerts anyway. Of course, I have more thought-provoking stuff on the records, but usually I just want people to have a good time. I want to shed some happiness and some fun in this world that gets a little too bogged down by a bunch of other day-to-day bullshit.
Yeah, like, taking things too seriously. And I know things happen and they are serious. But then at the end of the day, just trying to compose yourself and be a person out there in the world spreading joy and not hate, like being on that side of the fence and just in all your actions. I feel like just trying to be like that at the shows, even to be an example. And it's tough. It's not easy. I get upset too. So
Yeah. I tell you though, I had a friend of mine who's kind of, he's been doing like a tribute act for years, and he came to one of my gigs and he was like, oh, I'm just so tired of doing this and playing other people's music and stuff. And I totally get it. And he was kind of bummed out about things. And I was like, I get bummed out about things too, but as soon as I start, and every single time, I can't even help it. As soon as I start playing with the band, I can't not have a good time. I love it so much.
Yeah.
And I think people just see that. You can't. It's hard to fake that night in and night out if you're not.
You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I think everyone's, authentic is such a word now that is a real thing, because I think a lot in the past people had to suppress their emotions and their feelings, and now they don't have to as much because more is accepted and like that in the world, and I think that's great. So it's just bringing out more feelings.
Yeah. So the way we met was through our friend Michael Elsner's course on building courses and things like that. And so this is really cool because I wanted to do, we had like a kind of like a coaching call last week or the week before. And I was really, impressed with what I saw when you sent me your website and everything.
Oh, so, thanks.
You're welcome. One thing was like you really seem to get a lot of these things that we talked about, and so I wanted you to come on here so that we can kind of collectively talk to the listeners and the people that are watching that are up and coming artists and singers and bands and stuff, and kind of give them insight into like definitely want to talk about everything that you're doing right and maybe some pitfalls that you've fallen into and had to drag yourself out of so that other people can kind of try to avoid that stuff. But the things, I'll just tell you the things that drew me to you, like you really see, like you're obviously a great musician and you're rip it up on the guitar, which was one thing that was just very impressive. And you obviously put a lot into like I hate to use the word image, but that's the best word that you can use. And I think it's a great word because I do the same. And a lot of musicians that I look up to, they're very conscious about it. And like meaning, the way you look, but also the way your band presents itself and your performance, and the energy on stage, and all of that stuff I was really impressed with, and all of those things are just so important, So
they all add up,
Yeah, so maybe we can just talk a little bit about like your influences and maybe kind of like between the image and the stage show and all that, like what were some of your influences that maybe you borrowed? Like I steal stuff, from all of my musical idols.
You can't help but be inspired,
Yeah. I mean, and I'm like a student of the game. I sit there and the greatest thing is opening for people that you've grown up listening to, and then I just sit there like at the side of the stage or backstage, and I watch, and I'm like taking mental notes of like I'm gonna steal that move, or I'm gonna do that in between songs, or I'm gonna use that for an intro song or whatever. But maybe you can speak about your experiences and your influences.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm getting this image of when I finally realized why my guitar teacher had been telling me to keep my fingers close to the neck when I was playing, right? And as I was watching all these heroes of mine play live, when I got really, really close to them, I'd notice, man, it looked like they're not even moving their fingers. They'd be like, no, like that's all they were doing. But you'd hear what they were doing, and it was not looking that easy, right? It sounded way crazier than it looked. So at that point, I realized, oh, okay, all these years that I've had all these teachers, and they've been trying to help me keep my fingers closer to the neck of the guitar, I didn't realize how important that was. Mm-hmm. And seeing that, okay, well, now you're actually expending less energy because your finger is not moving as far. Mm-hmm. So there's so many layers of learning in that one thing that are happening, And you can play longer, more hours by doing expounding less energy with your muscles on your fingers,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would say definitely influences-wise, I would put it at when I was a teenager and I got my first car, and there was a tape player in there. The first car was a Volvo station wagon, kind of like burgundy colored. And everyone thought I looked like a surfer from California, but at the time I was in Oklahoma, but I was born in D.C., so from the East Coast, and then in junior high school, I was in Oklahoma. Then for college and the rest, I kind of went back to the East Coast, and then I came out here. Mm-hmm. When I started driving and I had my own car, I realized, I have this tape player. Like, I could buy a bunch of music. And, one day I got one of those letters in the mail from Columbia House, and they were like, buy, whatever it was, records for 10 cents and just buy 2 full, records in the next 2. Anyway, so I did that, and I got all these different tapes of things, because my car, it only had a tape player, but that was it. I just had
flipping it over and rewinding.
Yeah, like I had to. That was if I wanted any other music besides the radio. Yeah, which I did.
So what did you have? What
so I had Janis Joplin. I had all of her stuff, her solo stuff, her stuff with Big Brother and the Holding Company. Side note is the guitar player for Big Brother and the Holding Company, not the original one, but my guitar player, Tom Finch, is actually in the current band Big Brother and the Holding Company, which is her same band, So I always thought that, to put it full circle, I'm like, man, I got her band in my band now. I feel pretty happy about that, because he is like a wizard. I mean, oh my God. Anyway, so let's keep going. So then we had, of course, Jimi Hendrix in there. And, when I really boil down, like, what am I feel like I've always wanted to be the love child of Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix.
I love that. There's your tagline.
Yeah. There you go. I had actually this radio guy up in Vancouver who said I was the love child of Ann Wilson and Axl Rose.
Oh, that one's good too.
Which is almost like more accurate, really.
I think I like that one better, actually.
Yeah, and that's a real quote from a real DJ who really helped my career up there. He got us in the running for being almost like their favorite album of the year or whatever. But I didn't have enough money really to go up to Vancouver to tour. So unfortunately that's where you come in, Tim.
Exactly. Howtobookgigs.com.
See, that's what I'm saying.
So you just made me think about something. So let's just talk a little bit about this person, because that's a great topic that I haven't really heard anyone talk about, so you and I can talk about it, is like champions of your cause, these people that you meet along the way, that they meet you and they see what you're doing and hear your music, and they are just like, I believe in this person, Yeah. So this tell me about this person, the DJ.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name, and I feel really bad now. I want to say it's Rob Lovington, but I think that's Livingston, maybe. Man, I want to go check now. It was so long ago. CHLY were the handle for the radio, like the tag letters, CHLY, up in Vancouver. So we sent our record out, basically. We did what you do, which is you send your record out to people, and then I kept in touch with him, and he actually liked it, and he actually listened to it, and he actually played it on a regular basis. So that was one of those things where you do what you're supposed to do, and then something good happens, Yeah. I feel like, of course, that everyone feels like, I could do more of that, and I feel like I could do more of that too.
Yeah, I mean,
and it has to be in there.
I think we all can. I mean, I have a bunch of, one thing that I do is I send thank you cards to the people that book me for these big shows.
That's awesome.
Because I mean, it's amazing because it goes back to this subject too. Because when I'm talking about booking gigs and furthering your career and stuff, I like to talk about like the stuff in between, like the magic stuff that people don't really talk about. Like,
right.
And it's always relationships, And for me, the magic stuff is, last night we went and we had a gig, and the magic stuff to me is showing up to a gig really early, making sure that everything's advanced, making sure that the person that hired you, that booked you, feels comfortable, like knows that you're coming, knows that you're going to be on time. And then when you get there, you're just a solid pro. There's no drama. There's no BS. You just go there. You do a great job, as great job as you can. And then when you're leaving, you profusely thank them, as long as they're not a total jerk. But I think that those things are really overlooked and so incredibly important. So then people reciprocate, and usually 9 times out of 10 they will treat you wonderfully if you treat them like gold, and then you want to send them a thank you card because you had such a great experience.
So you're so thankful. You really are.
I mean, so like the fact that you are, you're sending your CD or your record out to radio stations, and then you're following up with them, and then once you get in contact and establish a relationship, you're following up with them and you're keeping that relationship going. Those are the kinds of things that I think more people need to realize that they have to do every 5 days a week, so to speak.
And you really have to find the right places. I think that it's really key to do that research about where you're sending it and who it's to and why, and because they want to know too. They want to know why, and do you know who they are, and they know you just want to get your record played. I mean, come on. So they know what's up. They know if they like it, they'll play it. But then there is that relationship that goes along with the music, and you hear about all these people and their relationships with whoever in the news, and when a star becomes a star, then now all of a sudden all their relationships, are kind of out on display for people to see, like, oh, they're actually kind of a nasty person. Like, I don't think I want to do that. Or, wow, what a nice person. And there was no drama at all, which is really, that's kind of like one of those gold stars in my book. Then I'll consider it again if there's no drama.
I mean, for me, I hear a lot of the drama of other artists that are doing some of the same venues and stuff like that, and you just never want to be that person that people are talking like, oh, these people showed up 5 minutes before they were supposed to go on and didn't even get a sound check and stuff like that. You just don't want to have a bad reputation, and because think about, if you hear of a club or a booker or something that has a bad reputation, you're just going to steer clear of them.
Definitely. I mean, I've definitely avoided different places for that reason, so, yeah.
And so, but I was going to say, tell everyone, like, about the shows you've been doing and stuff that you've basically done, some of your highlights in the past couple of years of your career.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I mean, I would say, like we were kind of talking about, my biggest highlight was opening for Heart. That was many years ago now, but it still is like a highlight, and they called me, so that was awesome.
Wow.
You know, shout out to AEG Live. Thanks for giving me a call, and you got my number. So yeah. Anyway, like recently, you know, I've really enjoyed doing the Guitarfish Festival every summer, which is a festival in Northern California, and it's right on the river, and it's just, man, you really get a taste of the good life, you know, if you like camping, that is. If you don't like camping, maybe that's not for you. They do have hotels close by, so, you know.
I saw some video from that, and I fell in love with it. It looks magical.
Yeah, it really is magical, and I've been taking my daughter for many years, and it's kind of like a tradition now, but I've been lucky enough to play that many years, too, in different ways. Mm-hmm. My friend Jimmy Leslie, who's a really amazing guitar player, and he also works for Guitar Player magazine, I believe, he invited me to be with him in his band the first few times I went to the festival.
Oh, cool. So you back people up sometimes, too.
Yeah, like I was in his band, and then he has this thing called Guitarfish Adventures that's a book that's actually really cool for kids, and it's for adults too, but he'll do a live version of it because there's music in it, you know. It's like about a band that meets up underwater, and it's so cute. So like I played Diva the Starfish in that, you know. It's a fun one.
Diva the Starfish.
That's
awesome.
my role, and they meet me in the LA Reef, you know, because they're in the water.
Yeah,
it's just the cutest thing, and man, it's great. And he plays Jimmy Finlicks, I think it is, like a fin. I think that's what it is. Anyway, it's really great. So it's things like that I love, you know, to do festivals like that. I also play every year at the High Sierra Music Festival. Oh. I've been kind of when I worked at Blue Bear School of Music, they actually got me into the festival the first time teaching a workshop. So I was doing a music workshop for kids where we would play music and then they would just dance and play, and like it was really fun. So I got in doing this workshop, but then also my friends had a kind of collaborative band called Guitarmageddon. So they also asked me to play. Yeah, they also asked me to play guitar and lead like two or three. I think it was two of the songs for their big performance there. You know, so it was kind of like a 2-for-1 deal. And ever since then, I've been going to that festival and being involved with Guitarmageddon and doing the workshops for the kids. And you know, it's a really fun festival because you can also go sit in with other people. And at that festival, I play at all these other camps. Like there's a camp called Bitchin' Kitchen. And man, it's the most beautiful people ever that run that, and like Chef Brody. And then, you know, there's a whole story of where it came from. And it really is an amazing story and also a tearjerker, you know. So there's all these things going on also. So there's this main stage and that main stage and that main stage, and then these other little side stages, plus like hundreds of camps where they let people bring sound systems. And, you know, in a way, if the music's good, they won't shut you down. Yeah. If the music's bad, they're going to be like, yeah, you got to shut down.
Yeah.
And they, you know.
So I think that's a great lesson right there, too, for people. You know, if you can contribute to other people's bands, if you play an instrument or if you sing backing vocals or anything, then it would always be I think a good idea. You know, if you're trying to get into festivals, then that's at least one way to kind of, you know, go and play festivals backing someone up, singing background vocals, playing lead guitar or whatever, like you do, and then you meet people. You get the experience of playing those bigger shows. Because I know that when I started as a solo acoustic guy on a bar stool, 4 hours a night, and I just wanted to play. You know, I desperately wanted to play festivals, and you know, it took me a while to make that big jump. So is there anything else you would, if there are people out there playing bars, which is, you know, to me is the greatest way to
I play at bars too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm playing at a bar next Friday called the Boom Boom Room, you know, and that's like one of those San Francisco Staples.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great place, and people know it. I had people from out of town that wanted to play there just because they had heard of it. And I was like, you've heard of it?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it makes sense. Of course they've heard of it. It's freaking the Boom Boom Room. They have epic party, like, great bands. Like, you know the band's always going to be awesome when you walk in that door.
Yeah.
You know? And then contrastingly, you know, I did my CD release party at the Independent, which is one of my favorite venues to play at as an independent artist, you know, because it's almost like a 500-person room at the Independent, and the sound is really good, and the staff is really nice, and, like, they really treat you professionally, and they're nice. I mean, and even the bartenders are great, and they're nice, and
doesn't that make all the
engineers
difference?
are nice.
Yeah.
Like, there's no curmudgeon people at all.
Oh my God.
I just want to say thank you to the Independent for being so nice.
Send them a thank you card.
I will. That's a great. I should. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you do Christmas cards or Hanukkah or whatever?
I don't do that. I don't do that because I feel like
you just don't know.
I feel like it would just kind of get lost in the holiday shuffle. So
true.
You know, I want my card to stand out.
Not like, at Christmas.
Random,
I like
you know?
that.
Like, whoa. Yeah. That's really cool. You know, and I have like a whole list, and I actually I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I'm trying to impart on people. It might seem boring and just like being a paper pusher, but this to me, these are all the things that for me have led to, you know, playing for 5,000 people and having such a great fan base and all these day-to-day tasks. Like I just ordered new mailing labels. I just ordered new postcards, and I'm gonna print out, you know, a ton of mailing labels probably tomorrow or Sunday. And it's not the most exciting, glamorous thing to do, but the payoff is amazing. And that, I think, separates people that are, you know, just doing... I hate to be a jerk because I did the same thing, but if people are playing shows, but they want to be, you know, at one level, but they want to be playing at a higher level, I'm trying to be diplomatic. I think these are the things that separate people. Like, you know, how you run your business and how you foster those relationships and your professionalism.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to have mentors. You know, like Michael Elsner, he's a mentor to us. Even though he's just your friend, like, you know, he's also your mentor, and you're a mentor to me. And you know what I mean? It's like you're seeing people. I like to see people that, like you look like you're a happy person, roughly, you know. You're doing what you love, roughly, and, you know, you're doing these things. You're kind of basically living the dream. I think that just like I feel like I'm living my dream because you know, whenever I've tried to go away from music, like I felt like, oh, there's not enough of this there or something that, or this is so much like Spinal Tap the movie, which honestly, my best advice I could give this whole podcast is if you are a musician and you have not seen the movie Spinal Tap, you have to watch it so you know what will happen to you.
half of it is like an actual documentary of things that are going to happen to you, and the other half is just hilarious.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And those are going to happen to the people around you. So it's like, no matter what, you're going to see something that will happen at some point to somebody you know or to you, you know, in some way. And it's really funny. Like, ever since I've seen that movie, I'm like, man. And then you just you know the moments, and you just say, hey, that's so Spinal Tap.
Yep.
And it happens still. So, I mean, that's a good little advice. But then also kind of keeping your chin up and knowing that all the hard work does pay off. And I was thinking when you were talking about the thank you cards, okay, Taylor Swift is a very big star.
Yes, she is.
Now,
where are you going?
She still does stuff like that. Okay. Yeah. I remember a few years ago, I was at my dad's house at Christmas, and I was like, flipping through the TV because it was like I had really just, ready to whatever. And I found this little thing about Taylor Swift and how she was giving away these special Christmas presents and mailing these things to her big fans, and she would like troll their pages to find out what they really wanted for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then she sent all of it to them in a big box. Now, I mean, okay, yeah, I might not be able to buy all those presents for all my super fans, right, or whatever, but
right.
the fact that she just did that sets her apart, because it's like creative thinking,
Yeah.
and she's taking action. So you have like action and creative thinking, and then they pair to be like this amazing thing where those people are never going to forget you, and they're going to buy all of your merch probably and whatever, but you're going to make them feel good at the end of the day. So
it's a win-win, 1,000,000%, exactly what you're saying. Because you're going to feel good about it, right? And then that person is going to be a fan, a mega fan for life, and they're going to tell everybody that they know. So it's just a win-win-win. It's phenomenal. I just had a couple weeks ago. I had a fan club party down here.
Oh, cool.
In Hollywood Beach, and my biggest market is New England, Southern New England, where I'm from, and I try to do one every summer when we go up and tour, and I just take a day that we don't have a show, and I invite everybody in my Facebook fan club. Which
cool.
Did you start the fan club? Didn't I say that you should start a fan club?
Oh, I think that we have one actually.
Oh, okay.
It was funny on the same day I started one. Someone else also started one. It was like the same day, and I was like, wait a minute. How are there two now? And then so that was really funny.
Well, cool. Add me. And
okay.
everybody listening and watching, go to Pamela's fan club so we can really get it ramped up.
Yeah, we'll do some events at the studio. I mean, that's one of the things we like to invite people over to the recording studio. Sometimes we have public events, and people can come in and hang out, like the Christmas party, or we do gear events and like really interesting stuff, just to see like, wow, there's just all this stuff still happening. It's just happening,
And so you do, like, you'll invite fans over to the studio and stuff?
Yeah, well, a couple years ago we had this, actually we had a filming for the Believe video that came out this year as one of our singles, but we invited all of our fans to come be in the video that we were filming at the studio at the Christmas party. So it was kind of like a 3-for-1 deal or whatever, right? You got to come to the studio, you got to come to the party, and be in the video, and then we hung out after. And we basically just did a show for everyone. We didn't really do we played our song maybe 2 or 3 times during the show throughout it, and filmed each time, but we just did a regular show basically for everyone, and then hung out with them before and after. So they were stoked. Yeah,
it's so great, because then you get the magnifying effect of, like, you have fans that will meet at one of your get-togethers or at one of your shows, and then you have they become friends through your music. And then
there's that too.
I love that. It's like I have these little families, like all over in these different spots, and
cool.
What better thing to do? I will never understand people that, and I know a lot of musicians that they want to maybe be like a rock star from the 90s, where they just they sit back and everyone's very interested in them.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. No, that's not how people want to know your authentic self. Remember that word, authentic's big.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just never understood that, because what's better than being around people who love your music, number one, and people that are supporting you,
Yeah.
And, I love it. So it's just very powerful. And, that's part of the reason why in my opinion, you should be doing music. I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm doing music, is to connect with people.
Yeah.
So,
it's all about connecting with people and sharing your truth in that way.
Yeah.
And I feel that way too about people that I work with in the studio, that I bring into Hyde Street it's a sacred place, it's been around since 1969 and all these crazy records have been done there, and the history there in the walls is special.
Yeah.
So, I know everyone has money, I guess, but I'm not necessarily trying to be like with them for hours in the studio. So, it's a special thing to be there, and it is a sacred place. So if you get to come in there, it's really cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Tell us about your single, and I think you just hit on it a minute ago, but your single and the video. So for Believe, right?
Yeah, Believe. Right. Yeah, that was actually the video we were talking about. We filmed at the Christmas party.
Yeah.
So, yeah, actually, I did some work with this really amazing artist named Evan Lanham, and he directed and filmed the video. He's also an artist himself, Evan Lanham in the Live Oaks. I totally love his voice. It's amazing. So we did kind of like a trade, actually, because he's so good at video. So he directed our video Believe, which just kind of looks like a big party at the studio and where we're playing. And because the song is really about coming together and believing in each other. I mean, it sounds a little cliche, but when I was thinking about writing a song, me and Tom Finch, the guitar player that I work with, we both play guitar, but I work with him, he's great. We sat down with the band, and I was like, I want to write a song that we can inspire people, and this is just the song that ended up coming out of that time. And the song, it's like about, one of the lines is meet me on the dance floor, and that is a cliche line, but at the same time I think about, like, some people really make me happy, when I'm dancing on the dance floor, we're all together and we're doing this thing and nobody's thinking about whatever it is that kind of bogs them down, if they're sad or
nobody's
whatever,
thinking about,
or
like,
they're happy,
your political leanings or your or traffic, or I'm a big believer in the simplicity of music, using music to have a good time and bringing people together. So I love that idea.
But then there's also like messages in it too that take it from there to, we need to treat each other equal. And it's like, I'm saying it's time now for us to do that.
Absolutely.
So let's do that, but let's meet on the dance floor and have a good time doing that. So it's also, it has like linings of possibly that ancient Indian, the Hopi Indian prayer that talks about, I read it on Peace Day when I did a couple Peace Day festivals in San Francisco when we celebrate that here. And I like to read the Hopi Indian prayer there because it really talks about how you can't try to hold on to the shore and stay in a place that is pulling you away. The river is pulling you downstream, and to hold on to the shore is just going to kind of ruin everything. You got to go downstream and then be happy and celebrate, it says, with the people in the river with you. So if someone is on shore and you're going down the way, but you're sad that they're still on shore, it's like, okay, let it go and just, you're here, and just like kind of believing in each other's growth and movement and like the whole equality movement too, It's kind of all wrapped into that song, kind of like party vibe,
Awesome.
Yeah.
I dig it. I wanted to give anyone who's a recording artist a quick tip going back to the fan thing. One thing that I do is, the great thing about this relationship that you can build with your fans is when there's a venue or someone that I want to open for, or a big show coming up that I want to get, I ask my fans to request us. And we've gotten a lot of really important shows and radio stations picking us up and stuff because I asked the fans, and they take it. Like, they go crazy because, you have a great relationship with them. And so that's another thing that, I just think that everybody should do as an artist. There are people that love your music and, just cherish them and treat them like precious little diamonds. And it'll
they
just
are.
all pay back.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it does pay back.
Well, cool. I just wanted to ask you if you had any kind of advice or anything that if you had known years ago that you would do different or you would have done different, knowing what you know now.
Well, possibly. I don't know, kind of what's coming to my mind just in the moment of an answer is that one of the first producers I ever worked with when I was first learning, Paul Miner, excuse me, he told me, he heard I was going to move to California. He was like, oh, well, this is what you need to do. You got to wake up at 6 a.m. and you do your East Coast business from 6 to 9 a.m. because it's East Coast time. So it's actually 9 to 12 East Coast time when it's 6 to 9 on California, right? So you do that. Then you take a little break. Then you do some practicing morning routine stuff with your music. Mm-hmm. Then from 1 to 4, you do your West Coast business. Then from maybe 5 or 6 to whatever ? You go record or you're working on your recording material, mm-hmm. right? So he had it all figured out with the schedule.
Wow.
And I honestly wish I would have done all that because I feel like, oh my God, how much more could I have gotten done had I actually stuck to that schedule? I think it's so hard as an independent artist to be on a schedule because then you're on your schedule. I'll get on schedules and I'll feel great about it. And then I'll go on tour or I'll, there's always some trip or something that happens with music and it kind of throws you off, or a Spinal Tap thing happens or and then boom, 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 everything's different. And so your schedule becomes this thing to kind of keep you grounded. And I feel like I maybe could have, felt a little more grounded along the way, I suppose, but gotten more done. And that's kind of the kicker is how do you really achieve that goal? You have to do all these things. So you really have to time manage.
Yes. You have to wear, 1,000 different hats, and then you have to figure out which one of those 1,000 things you're going to focus on that day and at which time. Yeah. So
I picked the purple hat today.
I love it. It matches the walls. It matches your lipstick.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. See, it all just works out.
I love it. Well, that's definitely good advice for musicians to treat it more like a business. That's what I would have done if I had known what I know now, is treat it more like a business so that your music career can be better, bigger, and more fun and more free. And then
I think also keeping it creative, because that keeps it alive for yourself too. When you're when you're getting bogged down, with all this stuff that you're doing, you also want to keep it creative. So if all these things that you're doing, like writing a thank you letter or whatever, that could be a creative thing. One of the things that worked for a friend of a friend who, got a record deal back in the 90s, and this is when it worked, so it's not going to work now, but maybe, you never know. He sent, an envelope with his music in it, but he drew on the envelope and made it look all crazy or whatever, but with his own drawing, his own hand. And he's not a great artist, whatever. I saw the envelope. It was just some doodles, but it was something.
Yeah.
It was creative, and it meant something to the people that then at the record label saw it on the table and wanted to open that package over the other one that didn't have the drawing, So I used to do a lot of that when I sent out packages. I don't really send out a lot now, but I do more online stuff, which seems, the stuff I send out, I also do try to do that too, where if I really want someone to open it that I know isn't going to open it, I will draw on the outside of it. I'll do the same thing. You know?
No,
just to make it a little personalized, while I'm standing in line at the post office, I'm drawing.
I think that is a great tip. And I do that for my emails too. I use I'm a grown man and I'm using these goofy emojis and stuff. And to me, I just wanted to kind of be a little bit different in my emails and kind of brighten somebody's day. And if they think it's goofy, then that's okay. So I just throw guitar,
Exactly.
sunshine, little emojis.
Those things are the best. And it's almost like if you think you should do it and it's, not going to hurt anybody, then you should.
Yeah.
And it's like, those are when I work with like songwriting and producing and stuff, I talk about being a channel for the energy that's trying to speak through you. If you are providing healing for the world, then you're kind of trying to channel something and you may not understand it completely, but that's why I think it's important to kind of go with your gut in that way. If you think, oh, let me put something cute on this or whatever, it's probably the right thing, and it's a creative, something that's coming to you.
Yeah.
It's being sent in a way to you for that purpose.
Well, I think that's great, perfect advice right there.
Yay!
So we'll wrap up with let everybody know where they can find you and check you out.
Yeah, cool. Well, the website is Pamela Parker Rocks with an S, rocks.com. And basically most of my handles, Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook and all that are also Pamela Parker Rocks. So on YouTube, it's also Pamela Parker Rocks, and our Believe video is on there on the top. So I can give you a link for that if you want, or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. We'll put it into the descriptions and stuff. Cool. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I'm super stoked about everything that you're doing. And
thank you.
Everybody who's listening or watching, definitely check her out because it is totally 100% true. Pamela Parker rocks.
Thank you.
We'll see everybody on the next one. Ooh.